so welcome. Now we're going to be doing chapter 8.1, which is going to be now introducing perpetual inventory costing method. So as we've been exposed before, right, through, you know, previous chapters, so chapter 5 in particular, right, we did go over a bunch of costing methods that exist that you can use to calculate your inventory, okay? And so depending on what tracking method that you use, whether it's periodic or perpetual, you do have the options to also utilize the same tactics, right, of FIFO, LIFO, okay, and moving average, okay. They also work the same exact way, but the only difference is how do you keep track of it, okay? So in this case, when we're looking at perpetual inventory, we will be looking at the same concepts, right? FIFO, LIFO, and moving average, okay? And they do the same exact ideas as periodic inventory. The only difference is how are we going to cost it? Now, here, right, it's not the same as periodic because we have to wait till the end of the accounting period to be able to figure out how we cost it. In this case, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be weaving in and throughout every purchase that we make. We weave in and weave out, and then every sale that we make, right, we sell as we go, okay? But the idea of keeping these, first in, first out, right? For example, if I have to sell milk, right, I need to keep a constant count of how many I have in stock, how many I have left, and so on and so forth. So this makes it a lot more easier to keep track of. But while you are purchasing and while you are selling, you're slowly going to get rid of your inventory a lot more quicker. Okay? So again, so we are going to be looking at all three methods. Again, specific ID is the same idea again, where you are an auto repair shop and every part, every item that you sell, right, is based on a particular specific, specific parameters, descriptions, things like that. So we're not going to teach you specific ID, but it does exist. Okay. So since we've been exposed to first in, first out rule, this time we're going to be applying it for the tracking method of perpetual inventory, okay? So in this case, your formulas are going to look a lot more similar, especially the purchasing section. That one is going to stay intact, right? We're still going to figure out what our purchase price is, what our total cost is, and what our cost per item is. However, our goods available and cost of goods sold section is where it's going to be a little different, okay? In this case, right, when we're looking at our goods available, it's going to be our total cost of one plus our total cost of number two to get our total goods available, and quantity of one plus quantity of two is going to give us our total quantity. So in this case, we are going to be looking at a different table, okay? And I'll show you what that table would look like after the lesson, but it's definitely going to be broken into three different sections, okay? One section's for the cost of goods sold, so that's why the formula for the cost of goods sold is also going to be different. It's still going to be quantity times cost per item to get you your total cost of goods sold. But at the end of the day, the columns is going to be cost of goods sold, purchases, and then your inventory on hand or your goods available, whatever you want to call it. Okay? And your ending inventory is something that you're going to always constantly be calculating over and over and over again. You're always going to know what the ending balance is at all times. Okay? So let's take a look at our first example here, where we have a couple scenarios where, number one, right, on June 1st, right, we decided to purchase 100 toys at $1.25 each with a freight of $25. So again, because this is perpetual inventory, right, we don't refer this as purchase expense and freight expense. We refer it to whatever the item that we bought. So in this case, we have toys. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to pop it into my worksheet, just exactly like this. This section right here will look identical to your periodic table, except the only difference is you'll have all the columns in a row, okay? But in this case, we're focusing on the middle section, okay, which is focusing on my purchases. So in this case, right, if you notice this, right, the first three columns here is my cost of goods sold, okay? In this case, I'm not selling anything, I'm purchasing. So that's exactly what I did here. I'm on my purchasing section, right, where I got 100 units at $1.25 each with a freight of $25. So there you go. I figure out what my purchase price is, which is 125, right? Quantity times unit price, plus a freight of 25 to give me my total cost of 150. And because I'm using FIFO, okay, we have to keep our batches separate because in this case, right, we're going to be selling this batch first. So in this case, we have to figure out what my cost per item is, which is the same exact formula, which is going to give you $1.50, right? Total cost divided by quantity, okay? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight this because this is important to know, because this is we're going to have to keep track of it. This is an easier way to keep track of it by using colors to go ahead and see where everything goes. Okay? Then on June 3rd, you end up selling 55 toys for $5 each. Okay, so exactly what we did here, right? We figured out what our sales is. But here is where it changes, because in this case, I need to figure out what the cost of goods sold is, because in this case, I'm not given what it cost me, right? This is where I have to go into my inventory worksheet and figure out, well, how much does my inventory cost me? In this case, I only have one batch of inventory, right? If I'm using the first in, first out rule, right, I only have one batch of inventory and it's going to cost me $1.50 each. So therefore, if I'm going to sell 55 of these toys, right, how much is it going to cost me? Well, my inventory, right, cost me a total of $150, which I broke it down to per unit. So in this case, it's going to cost me $1.50 per unit. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this cost per item and I'm going to plug it into this right here, and I'm going to figure out what my total cost of goods sold is. So in this case, I need to do my calculation. 55 times $1.50 is going to give me $82.50. Now, for practices purposes only, right, especially for the very beginning, first couple times we do this, this is how I'm going to do it. We're going to just subtract it out and to let me know how many items I actually have available. Okay, so in this case, right, if I have 100 and I sold 55, I should have 45 items left at a grand total of $67.50, right? I took 150, subtracted the 87.50 to get me 67.50. So that is my first batch. I have 45 items left. Okay. But then on June 5th, we end up making another purchase of 100 toys for $1.28 each with a freight of 26. So once again, I'm going to pop it in here because I still have a remainder of 45 on here, right? My second batch of inventory is 100 at $1.28 with a freight of 26. So we're going to go ahead and solve my purchase price, solve my total cost, and then solve for my cost per item. So in this case, 154 is going to be my item. And to keep this separate from my first batch, I'm also going to color this another color. So in this case, I have a second batch, which is the red batch. Okay? So that's that there. Okay? But then on June 10, I end up making another purchase of 100 toys for $1.30 each with a freight of 27. So pop it in there once again. All right, $1.30. Okay, gives you 130 plus 27 gives me 157. 157 divided by 100 gives me $1.57. So looking at this and using the rules of FIFO, right, I have 3 batches of inventory. My yellow batch at 45, my second batch of red at 100, and my last, which is the green batch, at 100. Okay, so this is the exact order because I purchased it on these exact dates. Okay, so then now the next time I sell something, right, so here's the example here where on June 12th we end up selling 120 toys, okay, for $5 each. Okay, so in this case I need to figure out how much 120 toys is going to cost me from my inventory. Okay, so in this case, let's take a look at my batches of inventory. Okay, yes.
Sorry, never mind.
Okay, so in this case, right, I need to sell for 120 units that I need to sell. Okay, looking at my batches of inventory, if I keep it in the exact order, right, and using the costing method of FIFO, right, which batch of inventory am I going to sell from first? I'm going to sell my 45 because using the rules of FIFO, right? That's my first batch that I still have remaining from my purchases on June 1st. So in this case, I'm going to get rid of 45. But that means I need to get a grand total of 120. So 45 minus 120 is going to give me 75. And that means I need to dip into another batch of inventory. So in this case, right, now that I recognize this, right, I have to take out of 2 batches of inventory, 45 and 75. Okay, now using the rules of FIFO, I'm going to get rid of my very first batch of yellow right here, which I know I'm going to get rid of all of it. So in this case, I'm going to get rid of $67.50. Okay, and of course you can subtract it out, so that means yellow is gone. Okay, and I need to now remove 75 items from my second batch of inventory because that's the next batch I have to sell is my red batch, okay, which is going to give me, right, 75 times $1.54. It's going to give me $115.50. So therefore, I'm going to subtract that out. So that means I should have a red batch of 25 units left at $38.50. Okay? And I'm going to tally up my totals because in this case, right, I split up my inventory. And when you journalize your cost of goods sold, you don't just journalize it that this is sold from my very first batch of inventory and then repeat another journal completing the second part of it. It's just they're all going to come out of the same account anyway, so might as well just add them all up together saying if you sold 120 toys, this is how much it cost me. It cost me a total of $183 even. Okay, so that's $67.50 plus $115.50 to give me a grand total of $183. Okay, and at the end of the given scenario, it tells you that you have sold a total of 175 units and that you should have a total of 125 units left. So in this case, yes, you do. You still got the remaining red batch and you have your third green batch of inventory at 100. Okay? So again, you're going to constantly know your ending balance at all times. Okay? All right? Good so far?
Yes.
Okay. So now what happens when I have beginning inventory? Okay? Now, you're going to notice this. Wait. What about my conversion entry? There is no need for a conversion entry because, one, you recognize your inventory as inventory. There's nothing to convert, right? You didn't originally buy them as an expense, right? And you already know how many items you sold. So in this case, no conversion entry is necessary, right? However, well, what happens when you have beginning inventory? Here's something that's actually a little different. Well, in this case, right, since on June 15, you had a total of 125 toys on hand, what do you do with that beginning inventory? You carry it over in the exact order and carry it over to your next inventory worksheet, okay? Now in this case, right, when we're looking at this, right, we see this we have to put it in the exact order because again, let's say I am selling milk, right? I can't just combine the two and say this is my beginning inventory. No, I have to still keep it separate because of the idea that this is the batch that you purchased first, so you need to sell them completely out first. So this is when we have beginning inventory. You don't combine them and transfer them over. You need to carry them over in the exact order of the batches that they came in. So in this case, we still got the red that we bought on the 5th of June, and then we have the one that we bought on the 10th of June, which is the green batch. Okay? Carry it over exactly how we see it from the previous worksheet. Okay? Then on June 18, we end up selling an additional 90 toys for $5 each. So therefore, I need to solve once again that I am selling 90 toys. In this case, right, because I'm using Fifo, I need to get rid of my red batch first. And then I need to go ahead and get rid of my green batch. Okay, so in this case, right, I'm going to take my red batch, which I know to be $1.54, and I'm going to get rid of this entire amount. So therefore, it's going to go ahead and be gotten rid of. Okay, and of course, that means my red batch is gone. Okay, then I have left is my green batch at $1.57. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and subtract that out. So I should have a left remainder of 35 units left in my inventory at a total cost of $54.95. And of course, I have a total of the 90 units that I sold. Okay. So then it tells me here that on the 21st and 25th, I end up purchasing 100 toys, okay? On the 21st, I purchased $1.32 each, and the freight was $26. So same thing goes here. I'm going to figure out what my purchase price is, my total cost, right? So 132 plus 26 is going to give me 158. Right? 158 divided by 100 is going to give me 158. Okay? So again, because I'm using colors, I'm also going to associate this with my blue batch. Okay? And of course, I made another purchase on the 25th of another 100 toys at $1.35 with a freight of 27. So I'm just going to plug that in, and there you go, right? Now I still have 3 batches of inventory, and I still need to use the FIFO method. Okay, so in this case, my green batch came first, then my blue, then my orange. Okay. So then on the 27, you end up selling 120 toys. So in this case, right, 120, we need to take a look at my batches of inventory, right? 120, that means I need to dip into my green batch and I need to dip into my blue batch. Okay. So I got 157 there, and then I have 185 here. Okay. So there you go. I take out my my green batch, right? So that's going to get rid of, right? And now I need to solve for what my blue batch is going to give me, because in this case, right, I need to figure out, right, I need to get to a total of 120 units. So in this case, 35 minus 120 gives me 85. So 85 at $1.58 is going to give me 134.30. And once again, that's going to be taken out, and that means I have 15 units left in my blue batch. And I still have 100 left in my orange batch. Okay. Then, of course, June 28, we end up selling another 65 units, which left me with a total of 50 units on June 30th. Okay. So I need to sell another 35. I'm sorry, another 65. So in this case, right, 15 from my blue batch. So I'm going to get rid of that one. And then I only have one batch left, which is my orange batch. I need to get rid of 50 of those units. So therefore, I'm going to subtract that 50 out to get me a grand total of 50 units left at a total of $81 even. And I sold 65 units at a grand total of $104.70. So in this case, as you can see, we're weaving through every single time, right? When we make a purchase, okay, every time we sell, we're going to get rid of the inventory, and then every time we make a purchase, right, is weaving in and out and through this scenario, right? All right, and that is how we do perpetual inventory. Okay, any questions?
No.
Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look into into the exercise here. Okay, so in this case, this is what I was talking about. Okay, this is what the perpetual inventory worksheet looks like. Right, you have a total of 15 columns. Okay, well, the first one's obviously the date. Okay, you got the first 3 columns to be your cost of goods sold. The next 6 is going to be in the middle, which is your purchases. And then the last 3 is going to be your inventory on hand. The inventory on hand is what's going to actually keep track of your inventory on hand, of course. And this is how you're going to always know your ending balance, okay? Just because the PowerPoint just didn't have enough space for me to be able to do it, this makes it a much more easier for you to be able to kind of see where everything goes, okay? So again, how we're going to be looking at this is exactly how we should look at it, right? We're going to move from left to right, okay? When we purchase something, okay, obviously you didn't sell anything, so you skip the first 3. You're going to put in whatever you need to put in your middle section for your purchases, and then you're going to carry it out into your inventory on hand so you know how many items you have on hand at all times, okay? And if you sell something, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to work the first 3 columns, we're going to subtract it out from our purchases, and we're going to update my inventory on the right side. So we're going to be looking at this worksheet in 3 columns. Cost of goods sold, purchases, and inventory on hand, okay? And for the sake of this class, I'm going to go ahead and let's just go ahead and use the example here. And I'm going to use colors for the first time. Then tomorrow we can get rid of the colors because you don't really need them. But we'll slowly, transition from one to another, okay? So let's see. Okay, here's our first example. So again, number 1, your inventory method is perpetual and it is FIFO. Okay, now in this case, I'm not going to have you practice your journal just yet, just because I want you to practice getting used to plugging into the inventory worksheet, okay? But we will eventually practice the journal eventually sometime. We will do it for the chapter 8 review. Okay, we'll practice it for the first time, but right now, I just want you to get used to plugging it into the worksheet, and then we'll eventually go into journalizing, okay? So here's the first one. Your inventory method is perpetual, and it is FIFO. So on May 5th, we end up purchasing 1,000 units at $3 each with a freight of 100. Okay, and we bought it on account, but in this case, we're focusing on just plugging it into our inventory worksheet. So FIFO 1, okay, so here's the inventory worksheet. So it is May 5th, right? We're going to skip over the cost of goods sold because in this case, we didn't sell anything. So therefore, we can skip over and move on to purchases. We purchased 1,000 units at $3 each with a freight of 100. So this is where this is going to be similar to our periodic inventory, right? We need to solve for these information right here, such as the purchase price. So in this case, what is my purchase price? If I bought 1,000 items at $3 each. $3,000, okay? Plus 100 is going to give me a total cost of $3,100. Okay? Because it's FIFO, I need to solve for my inventory batch. So in this case, what is my inventory batch? Cost per item. $3.10. Okay? So this is my very first batch of inventory. If you want to color code it, you can. I'm going to do it for this worksheet so you guys can be able to follow along when I post the answers instead of having a blank worksheet, right, with empty columns, right? You can kind of see how we got there, okay? So in this case, I'm going to color code this as red. Now that I made my purchases, right, I need to carry that into my inventory on hand because this is important. This is what I need to have to let me know how many items I have on hand, okay? So in this case, this is what I currently have in my inventory. I currently have 1,000 units at $3,100, okay? And I'm gonna color this batch, right? I'm just gonna go in order of the colors, okay? Just so that we can follow along a lot easier. So in this case, let's see, let's do red. Yeah, let's do red first. Okay, there you go. Okay, so that's my first batch of inventory. Now, what you can do here too is you can create your total column down below here. So then when you actually have your total cost of total goods available, you constantly know how much you have available, right? It's up to you if you want to do it now. So I'll go ahead and I'll insert right here my equal sum. So when I do make other purchases of inventory, right, I know exactly how much I have overall in grand total. Okay, so in this case, I have 1,000 units at a total of $3,100. Okay, so that's my current total inventory right now. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what happened next. Next, on May 7, we end up selling 550 units at $10 each, cash, no sales tax. So in this case, right, I end up selling 550 units. So when we sell it, right, we're going to journalize that we sold it. But at the end of the day, we need to figure out how much it cost me so I can update and adjust my inventory accordingly. So in this case, I end up selling on May 7th, 550 units. Now in this case, I only have one batch of inventory, right? I only have my red batch right here, and its cost per item is $3.10. Okay? So therefore, I need to calculate here how much this is going to cost. Now, I'm going to use my equal round formula just so then I can keep my numbers nice and clean. Okay? But in this case, right, 310 is an even number. So how much is it going to cost me to sell 550 units at $3.10? $17.05. 1705, okay? And this is what I'm going to do to ensure that I am keeping track of my inventory, okay? I'm actually going to subtract this out, okay? So I'm going to subtract 550 and subtract out 1705, okay? So then this should give me my grand total, okay, of 450 units left at a grand total of why is this negative? Oh, I'm in the wrong column. Okay. So I'm supposed to put the negative here under the total cost of 1705. Okay. So this should give me my new grand total of $1,395, okay? Now it's up to you if you want to highlight this because this is your red batch, right? Just make sure that you know that this is part of your red batch and this is what you have available now, okay? So therefore, right, I can tap into my red batch, right? And say, well, I already sold 550 units, okay? So therefore, I don't have 1,000 units anymore, right? I have 450, right? And because I put my formula in my total cost, right, it's going to automatically calculate for me that whatever 450 times 310 is going to give me $13.95, okay? And that's how I know how much inventory I have on hand at all times, okay? So there you go, right? Other ways that you can also do this too is you could say, well, this one right here was taken out from my red batch. Okay, so a lot of colors are going to be going on, but this is the way to keep track of your inventory, okay? Just so that we can follow along for the first time. And then the next time, we'll get rid of the colors. You really don't need it. Okay? So there you go. So in this case, I purchased my red batch at 1,000 units, right? And I end up selling 500, which came out from my red batch. I've calculated it now, so that means my red batch should be now 450 units. Okay? All right, so let's see what happened next. So here next on May 10, I end up purchasing 850 units at $3.25 each with a freight of 75. So that means this is what I'm going to do. It is May 10. I'm looking for the next blank line here. We didn't sell, so therefore I can skip over this one. But we end up making a purchase of 850 units at $3.25 each with a freight of 75. So now I need to solve for my purchase price. So what's my purchase price here?
$2,762.50.
Good. Plus 75 is going to give me a total cost of
$2,837.50.
2,800 at 37.50, okay? And because this is FIFO, I need to make an association with this batch of inventory, right? So in this case, I need to figure out what my cost per item is for this batch.
$3.34.
$3.34. Now in this case, is this true? This actually might not be. So in this case, it's 3.3382. So in this case, This is an unrounded number, okay? But what I'm going to do here is, now that I have this batch of inventory, right, I'm not going to round this number because, right, it can cause us many discrepancies, especially if we sell 1,000 loose units, right? We could be losing, in this case, we would lose 0.2 cents. So therefore, every item that we sell, right, if we sell 1,000 of them, we already have 850. If we sell 1,000 of them, we already lost $2 right there. Okay, so in this case, I'm gonna make this one yellow, just because it's, standard color. Okay. And now that I made a purchase of inventory, I need to carry this batch of inventory into my inventory worksheet, or my inventory on hand. So I have an additional 850 units at $3.3382. Okay, and I'm gonna also have my formula like this. Okay, so then again, I have 28.3750, and this batch of inventory is yellow. Okay, so now that I have this, right, look at my total. Now my total is, I have 1,300 units available at a grand total of $4,232.50. So that's what this column down here below represents. It represents my goods available. Okay? By adding quantity of 1 to quantity of 2 and total cost of 1 and total cost of 2. All right? So that's what my goods available is. So that means when I do sell something, right, do I have enough to sell? Okay? So let's see what happened next. May 12th rolls around, and you end up selling 360 units for $10 each. Okay? So 360 units is my next one. Okay? So therefore, it is May 12th. Okay? And we sold 360 units. Now let's take a look. Do I have enough in my first batch of inventory? Yes, you do, right? So in this case, I am okay to go ahead and take out 360 units out from my first batch, which cost me $3.10 each. So in this case, I need to figure out what my cost of goods sold is. So in this case, 360 at $3.10 is going to give me $1,116. So in this case, I'm going to highlight this because this one came from my red batch of inventory. Okay? So now I'm going to do my calculations where I'm going to carry my 450. I need to subtract 360. So that's going to give me a remainder of 90 units left. Okay? Now my 450 originally cost me $13.95. Okay? I'm going to subtract out the 1116 to give me my grand total cost of $279. Okay? And again, this was my red batch. Okay? And that means I'm going to go ahead and adjust my red batch of inventory because now I don't have 45. I only have 90 items left at $279. So again, that's going to adjust your inventory on hand or your goods available to drop from 1,300 down to 940. Okay? All right? Good so far? So then, yes? Okay, good. All right. So that was May 12th. Then May 15, we end up selling an additional 600 units. So in this case, let's go ahead and plug that in. So my empty spot is here. May 15, we sold 600 units. Right? Now let's take a look at my batches of inventory. Okay? I have 90 in my red and I have 850 in my yellow. But I for surely have enough to sell 600 units, right? Because I have a total of 940 units. So in this case, how am I going to use FIFO to be able to solve for this? How do I sell 600 units?
We have to sell the 90 first.
We got to sell the 90 first. And then we got to figure out what 600 minus 90 is, which gives you 510. Okay? And of course, right, when we journalize this, we must journalize it as a whole. Okay? Because again, you don't want to waste two journal entries if you're going to be writing the same exact account numbers, right? Because instead of doing one for batch of inventory number 1 and then one for the second batch of inventory, they're all going to come in and come out from the same account. So in this case, it doesn't even matter. Okay? So in this case, so that's exactly what we have. We need to solve for our totals here. Okay? Now, my 90 batch is going to come from my red. Okay? So in this case, my 90, right, which we know to be from $3.10. Since we're going to get rid of all of it, we already automatically know it is $279. But I'm just going to be consistent here. Okay, just typing in my formula. So we already know it's $279. So in this case, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to subtract it out, and that's going to give me 0, right? So in this case, if you want to highlight this, it's up to you. So this is my red batch. Okay. Now that I did my middle one, I can go ahead and remove my 90 from my red batch. So that means that whole entire batch is gone. I only have 850 at the $2,837.50. But however, I'm not done. I still need to solve for 510 because that's how many items I sold from my second batch. So in this case, I know for a fact that this, because it's my only batch of inventory, it's going to cost me $3.3382. Okay? And this is for my yellow batch, okay, of inventory. Okay? So in this case, what do I need to do here? I need to solve for my yellow batch of inventory. So in this case, what is my total cost of goods sold here?
$1,702.48.
702.48. So in this case, you need to keep going with your decimals. It should be rounded to, it's like 49 point something. So the best rule of thumb is you should at least have like about 6 digits after the decimal to get a good what do you call it, number to round to. Okay, so therefore I got $1,702.50. So I'm going to do exactly how I've been doing. I'm going to carry this batch of yellow right here. I'm going to subtract 510 to give me a grand total of 340. Okay. Carry down my 2,837.50, minus out my 1702.50, which should be giving me a total left of 11,135 even. Okay. And this was all the yellow batch. Okay. So therefore, I need to update my inventory because I no longer have 850. I have 340. Okay. All right. So let's see what has happened next. Okay. So it is now May 20th. Okay. May 20 tells me that I purchased 300 units at $3.50 each with a freight cost of $20. So pop that into my inventory worksheet here that it is now May 20th, right? We didn't sell anything, so we can skip right along. We purchased 300 units at $3.50 with the freight of $20. Okay, so in this case, what is my total purchase price?
$10.50,
1050 plus 20,
$10.70,
1070. So that's going to give me my cost per item to be
$3, 5666666.
good. So in this case, 3, 5, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Yes. Okay, so in this case, there you go. So therefore, I just put a new batch of inventory and I'm going to call this batch number, letter, no, color, green. Okay, throw it in there. So that means I have a new batch of inventory. It is for the 300 units at $3.5335666666. Okay, which is going to give me a grand total of 1070. And again, this is green. Okay. All right, so I have 3 batches of inventory. In this case, my first batch of red is completely gone. And I have yellow, and then I have green. Okay. So let's take a look at the next thing. Okay. Next we have here is going to be May 22nd. We end up selling 450 units. Okay, so 450 units. Okay, so May 22nd, we need to sell 450 units. Now let's take a look at my batches of inventory. Okay, I have 640 units, that's for sure. I can sell the 450 units. However, do I have enough for my first batch of inventory? Do I have enough in my yellow batch of inventory to sell all 450 units? All right, so in this case, I have 640 units, right? I have my yellow batch at 340 and my green batch at 300. Do I have enough from my yellow batch to sell all 450 units?
No.
No, I don't. So in this case, I have to split them up once again. So therefore, I need to get a grand total of 450 units. But I know for a fact that my yellow batch is currently having 340 units. Now in this case, right, I need to figure out how many units I need to get to 450. So I'm going to take 450, subtract the 340 to get me a remainder of 110. So therefore, I'm just going to simply add these two numbers together, right, to get me a total of 450. So in this case, I know for a fact that my 340 is going to come from my yellow batch of inventory. Okay? And we know for a fact that my yellow batch of inventory, right, is going to cost me at $3.3382. And we know already what that total is going to be because we're going to get rid of all of it. So in this case, we already know it's going to cost me $11.35, right? Because here in my table, it's already calculated exactly like that. So in this case, now that I said that I'm going to sell that yellow batch, right? I'm going to carry my values down and I'm going to subtract that 340 to get me to 0. Okay? So in this case, when I'm using Excel, I'm using a lot of cell referencing, which is really simple to do. Okay? So what is cell referencing? In this case, I'm just using my equal sign, okay? And I'm choosing the cell that I want to copy. So in this case, I want to copy this 1135. I simply just either click on it or I can use my up arrow keys to find which cell I want to do. Your cell is going to say equal this cell, right? Because I want to copy the content that's in this number in this cell right now. So once I press enter, it's going to tell me that it should be 1135. Okay? And what I'm doing here is I'm also going to be adding a negative, right? So in this case, instead of using the equal, you could do equal negative, right? And I want this to be a negative number. Okay, so I'm clicking on this 1135 on my cost of goods sold. And when I press enter, it's going to appear as a negative. All right, and what I'm doing here is I'm just simply adding these two numbers, right? Because I know we're supposed to subtract, but if you remember, if you know the orders of operations, you can't subtract the negative, right? Because that becomes a positive number. So in this case, I need to add these two numbers together to get me to 0. Okay? And again, I'm going to use the highlighter pen up here on my cell formatting. So if I want to choose my color, I hit that little down arrow and it will allow me to choose whatever color I want to do. So in this case, I'm getting rid of my yellow. Okay. Then I need to come back up here. Since I got rid of my yellow, I no longer have it. Okay. But I cannot just delete this whole entire row because I use cell referencing. Okay. If I do delete this whole entire row, a lot of my formulas are going to get messed up. Okay. All right. So I got rid of my yellow batch for 340. Now I need to get rid of my green batch, right? In this case, I only need to sell 110 of those units from my green batch. Okay? 110. So in this case, what's my cost per item going to be for my green batch?
What was the question?
What is the cost per item for my green batch?
3.5667.
So therefore, what is my total cost of goods sold if I sold 110 items at 3.56666666?
Is it 392? 33?
392 and 33 cents. Good. Okay. So now that I got rid of that, right, I'm going to carry my value. So 300, right? And I sold 110 of those items. So therefore, that should give me a total of 190 units left. Okay. Right now I'm at 1070 and I need to subtract out 392.33. Okay. So that's going to give me a grand total of 677.67 cents. Okay? And this whole entire thing was dealing with my green batch of inventory. Okay? So therefore, I need to update my green batch of inventory because I no longer have 300. I only have 190. Okay? 190 times the 3.56666667, right? It's going to give me 677 and 67 cents. Now, you're going to notice this trend here, right? But this is why I want to show you here with the colors and then show you here that you don't need to necessarily do the calculations in the middle. All right? We'll eventually, the next time we'll to go around this, we'll eventually eliminate the colors, then we'll eliminate the calculations, and so on and so forth, right? We'll ease our way into this so then we can understand how we get to the answer. Because at the end of the day, when I post this, right, and it's going to be the whole thing is blank and all you see is just this and all the numbers are, rearranged and associated with different numbers, you're going to know why, okay? So in this case, this is for answer sheet purposes, okay? So you can see what's going on, right? I see that I sold something, so I take that number and I subtract it out, and this is what I have left remaining, okay? So there you go. That's my green batch. And now I only have 190 units left at 677 and 67 cents, okay? And of course, I also need to figure out how much was my grand total for selling the 450 units. So in this case, I'm going to add my totals up, and that's going to give me a total of $1,527.33. So again, this is your grand total. So then when you do journalize your cost of goods sold, it will look like this. Okay. So then May 25th, right, we end up purchasing another batch of 650 units at $375 with a freight of 50. So 650. Okay. So it is May 25th, right? We didn't sell anything, but we did purchase 650 units at $3.75 with a freight of $50. Okay? So in this case, what's my purchase price going to be? If I bought 650 units at $3.75.
2,437.50.
2,437.50. Good. Plus 50 is going to give me my total cost of
$2,487.50.
giving me my cost per item to be
$3.826923. $3.8269 whatever you said, right? It's on and on and on. So in this case, I'm going to make this my, let's see what color I didn't use. I'm going to make it blue. Okay. So I need to plug that into my inventory on hand. That I have a total of $50 units at a total cost per item of $3.82692. Okay, which is going to give me my total cost of the $2,487.50. Okay. So now I have a total of 840 units left available to sell. Okay. All right, last sale we have here on May 27. We end up selling 740 units at $10.25 each. And of course, by May 31st, I should have a total of 100 units left on hand. Okay, so therefore, I'm going to plug it in right here. May 27, and we need to sell a total of 740 units. So let's take a look at my batches of inventory. In this case, I for surely have enough. I have 840 units. However, does my green batch have enough to sell all 740 units? Yes?
Not my green batch?
Oh, no.
No, I don't. Not even my blue batch, right? My blue batch only has 650, right? So at the end of the day, I have to dip into both batches of inventory. So in this case, 190. And then I need to figure out how much of my blue batch I need to sell to get to 740. Okay? So in this case, 190
and I need to know what 740 minus 190 is, which is going to give me 550. And that's going to give me a total of 740. Okay? So in this case, I already know for my green batch, since I'm going to get rid of the entire green batch here, right? I know the cost per item for my green batch is right now $3.56, right? Which we already know is going to give me a grand total of the $677.67, right? We know that. And I'm going to subtract that out to get to 0. Okay? So 677 minus my 677 is going to give me 0. Okay? Okay? And this is my green batch of inventory. Okay? So therefore, now that I got rid of my green batch, therefore all I have left is my blue batch at 650. Okay? And I need to sell 550 for my blue batch. Okay? That means I'm going to have 100 units left, which is true because that's exactly what the scenario says, right? Now, in this case, since I only have one batch of inventory, what's my cost per item for my blue batch of inventory?
$3.82, 692.
$3.82692. So once again, what is going to be my total cost of goods sold here? You need to go one more unit beyond that too to get, if you're using a regular calculator, to get a more accurate answer.
$2,104.81.
Good. 2,104.81 is correct. Okay. And of course, I want to make sure I add this up. So that means when I do journalize that I sold all 740 units, it's for the grand total of $2,782.48. So in this case, now I need to update my blue batch of inventory, okay? So I started out with 650, right? I sold 550. So therefore, I should have a remainder of 100 units left. Okay? My total for the 650 was $2,487.50, and I sold $2,104.81. So that should give me a remainder of 282.69. Okay? And this was my blue patch of inventory. So therefore, I need to go up to my window and adjust it because I no longer have 650 units left. I only have 100. And that's going to give me a total of $682.69. Okay? And that is how I do my very first worksheet here. And of course, at the end of May 31st, you should have a total of 100 units on hand. And that is true. we have 4 batches of inventory. We end up getting rid of all 3 of them and have a remainder left of that 100 units left. Okay? So in this case, right, I use colors so you guys can kind of follow along where the money's go, or, you know, where the inventory is going. Okay? Any questions in regards to this?
No.
Okay. So the next time we do this, I'm going to drop some colors, okay? So it's not so in your face. Okay? No questions? Okay.
No.
All right. So because